A little bit of information about the background of the IB diploma program. It was started in the late 60s, early 70s in Europe, in Geneva. It happened in an international school among international teachers who wanted to focus on primarily two things. One was mobility of children. Many of the children at this school were in the diplomatic corps, and they needed to move from school to school. And one issue, of course, that occurs when children do that is the incompatibility of the local curriculum. So children will move, then they won't be in the same place in terms of math and so on. So there was a lot of incompatibility, there still is. But the IB, because it is an international curriculum followed by schools all over the world, facilitates this movement. The other piece behind the IB diploma was, of course, the larger context of the Cold War, international conflict. And these teachers thought that through education, they could address no less a task than basically maintaining civilization and making the world a more peaceful place through perpetuating among their students a sense of global mindedness. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on. Just from this slide, you can see it's grown pretty dramatically. In 2014, well over 100,000 diploma candidates sat exams in over 140 countries around the world. One other interesting fact that comes through on this slide is that initially this was a private school phenomenon. So private schools in Europe primarily were taking on this curriculum. And now many public school and state schools have adopted the IB diploma program as an option for students in their states. In fact, now there are in a number of countries pilots being undertaken by federal governments to take on the IB diploma as their national curriculum. Ecuador is doing this. Japan has pilot studies underway. So it is growing, and it's growing very rapidly. This slide breaks down how it works today. It's a large organization. To administer all of those, for example, external exams and so on, moderation, curriculum maintenance, monitoring schools, it is a huge task. And so what IB has done is break up the program into three regions. There is the Americas region, which encompasses Canada, the US, Central and South America. It is by far the largest region. There is the Asia Pacific region and the Africa, Europe, and Middle East region. One thing I'd like to point out that this slide reveals is the fact that if you look at this is diplomas. So children who are involved in the IB can choose to take IB courses, or they can do the full diploma program. And what this chart displays is that in the Africa, Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific regions, children who do the IB program tend to focus on and take the diploma. In the Americas, there is a different trend emerging, and that is that students are taking IB courses, but they're not doing the whole diploma package. And what I've observed over the 6 years that I've been doing this job is that the same trend is happening at this school, that children are opting to do courses versus the full diploma. IB, in recent conferences and discussions I've had with IBO folks, they have talked about the reasons for this. It is a trait that they're not necessarily that pleased with, because the program is really important to the IBO organization. And they think it is in large part the AP influence. Advanced placement in the US is one of their primary university prep programs, and it is presented as a course per course offering. So the student will take AP chemistry. There is no program per se, they just take the course and move on to university. And that's one explanation for this phenomenon. Zooming in a little closer to Canada, we can see that in Canada there are 364 schools currently authorized to deliver IB programs. In the US, just to give you a sense of scale, it's much larger. But if you think about that in terms of numerical proportion, Canada is more heavily covered by the IB program in terms of proportion of population. Also, I just want to mention here that it started as the 2-year university prep program back in the 60s and 70s. It was that final 2 years. But what has evolved is a full, what is called the continuum program. So there are programs now that exist for children starting in kindergarten and going all the way through to university. The first stage of that program is the primary years program. The second stage is the middle years program for grades 7 through 10, and then of course the diploma program for grades 11 and 12. And Ridley, as of last year, has become what is called a continuum school. So we offer the full continuum of primary, middle, and senior schooling for students at the school. This is a very positive development, and it's something that I've observed and has been observed happening in independent schools in Ontario. They are gravitating toward continuum. It makes sense if you think about curriculum continuity through the years. Just a quick word. This is I'm breaking the fundamental rule of slide presentation, filling it with text and expecting people to read. So the reason I've done that is I wanted to show you. This is the IB mission statement, but I've highlighted the 3 things that I think are being attended to by the paragraphs. You don't have to read the whole thing. Intercultural understanding and respect, I alluded to that earlier, about trying to educate and develop young citizens who have an awareness of themselves in relation to the larger world, not just in relation to their local community where everyone is speaking the same language, carrying out the same customs, but being aware of the larger world and their place in it is one of the central facets of the program, and it comes through in the curriculum in all courses. Rigorous assessment, this is the scary piece for the students who are here. The IB is recognized around the world as being one of the gold standards for university preparations, and universities have responded in kind. They look very highly upon IB diploma students, IB diploma graduates, because they know that they have attended to a standard of learning and inquiry that has prepared them for what they're going to encounter in university. Very, very important piece. The final piece has to do with what I would describe as character development. In a way, with the IB diploma, of course, we're teaching students and we're making them master a canon of knowledge within different subject areas. But more importantly, we're developing young people who are going to go out into the world and hopefully become lifelong engaged people with their community. And there is a component of the IB diploma program that addresses that notion of developing compassionate lifelong learners. Just very quickly to look at the structure of the program, this diagram is the current diagram for the diploma program. And just to give you a sense of, I mentioned earlier how it is distinctive as a program versus a series of courses that students select. So if they undertake the IB diploma, not only are the students expected to take 6 courses, they're also expected to undertake what is called the core. The core consists of 3 things. The first is a theory of knowledge course, but it's a distinctive course in that all diploma students have to take it, and all teachers of IB courses, whether they're math teachers or physics teachers or history teachers, have to incorporate the theory of knowledge component into their program. The theory of knowledge is basically an epistemology course. It is a philosophy course. The students are required to think about knowledge and sources of knowledge. How do we know what we know? And why are we looking at this knowledge as fundamental to this course as opposed to this knowledge? And so all teachers have to kind of open up those big hairy issues in their individual courses. The extended essay was mentioned by the 2 IB2 students who introduced themselves earlier. The extended essay is essential for university prep. Many students, in fact all students I speak with who come back to the school after having gone to university, will reference the extended essay experience as one of the most important things that prepared them for university level study. It is a 4,000 word research paper undertaken on a subject that the student defines. So it is student driven. It is not a course the student attends and they have to write a paper for that course. It exists outside. We have support in the school. We have an IB core period set aside for students in which they get support for their extended essay, but they define what their topic is. They seek out a staff member on faculty who is an expert in that topic, who can be their supervisor. So again, supervise, that's exactly what happens in university at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. And then they, of course, carry through the research, the structuring of the essay, and the writing of the essay, and that happens over the 2-year program. It is rigorous, but again, remember what we're doing here, and this is directed primarily at the students, is we're preparing you for what you're going to encounter very soon when you walk through the gates of university. You will be expected to know how to write a research paper. They will not teach you that in detail and give you the level of support that we will hear to prepare you for that. You will know. You will have gone through the experience. It's a little painful at times, but as they say in the athletic world, no pain, no gain. So it's something to be aware of. And often at the end of it, having gone through the process, students, even before they go to university, will reflect on how much they learned about the subject that they're fascinated with. The last piece, the third piece, is creativity, action, and service. This is the co-curricular component of the IB program. It's called CAS for short. It is the sport piece, it is the community service piece, it is the arts theater piece, all that stuff that students are doing after classes. And of course, at Ridley, it's a busy place. We have a very, very rich co-curricular program here that supports the creativity, action, and service component. Just to go back to this slide, you'll notice at the very center of this diagram, there's a little image with the 3 heads. There's a young child, a middle years child, and a diploma years child. All 3 of the programs have this at the core. And what that refers to is the IB learner profile. I mentioned earlier the larger picture, the bigger picture beyond the mastery of course material, and that is the fact that we're developing and working with young people and helping to develop in them character traits that will allow them to be happy and successful wherever they go beyond the diploma program. Most go into university, and how do we do that? How do we develop those capacities in children? Well, one of the compelling facets of the IB program, I recall being discussed back before IB was really here at Ridley about 8 years ago. The IB academic rigor piece was very compelling, but after that discussion happened, the one big compelling issue still on the table was this character attribute and character development piece that is clearly defined within the program. So the learner profile, as you can see, lists 10 character attributes that we as a school try to perpetuate in the classroom from day to day. And we talk about being communicators, we talk about being principled, teachers in the classrooms, coaches on the field. So it is a very direct attempt to inculcate in the students, but also in the staff, a sense of what it is to be a happy, engaged, lifelong learner who is compassionate and involved in their community.